All right, guys, today I'm super excited. I've got my buddy Trey Willard here from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We are going to tell you exactly how to build a business of your dreams. All right, Trey, so super excited to have you here. I mean, you know, you and I met first through, let's see, where did we meet? We met first, you were over here on vacation, right?
This was in June, yep.
Yeah, we were in June, we were on vacation. Our buddy Doug Edrington had a dinner. We showed up and it was just, it was just immediate. I was like, this is my guy right here. So I appreciate you coming back over.
Absolutely.
Love having you in the area. Listen, if somebody doesn't know, tell us a little bit about, you know, where you're from,
Sure.
company, kind of how you got started.
Yep, Trey Willard, been in the business since the latter part of 2010. I was a buyer's agent for Keller Williams. I worked for a guy named Tim Houck.
Yeah.
First year in the business.
Yeah.
36 transactions, rookie of the year. Was with the team for about probably 2.5 years, and then kind of organically outgrew my position as a buyer's agent. Got a call from a good friend who owned more of a commercial real estate company that wanted to start a residential firm, or at least an arm, if you will, and said, hey, I want you to be my lead residential agent. I said, I'd love to. It was just perfect timing. I had a lot in the pipeline and was ready to take my business to the next level. So
this is pretty interesting. I was going to, if you don't mind.
For sure.
I'm going to interrupt you. That's what I do.
No,
But
I love
so
it.
this is what I love, though, is because most people want to skip the steps. You know what I mean? I mean,
Sure.
you literally started
I started as an assistant.
As an assistant.
Yeah, for the same guy.
And spent 2.5 years.
I was been an assistant for about 6 months. I was a terrible assistant. Awful. It was awful. But I mean, I had already taken my real estate class. It was just kind of studying up for the exam. And you know, he's like, hey, what do I got to do to get you out of the service industry? How much money you need to make a week? And I was like, you pay me $400 a week, $500 a week, whatever it was.
Like
then.
a boss, right?
I was
400.
like, I'm out.
Yeah, that's right.
I'll come work for you full time. Started that, got my license, and then immediately, first month I was in the business, I had 3 contracts pending.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. And haven't looked back.
Never.
So, but there was a process. I mean, it took you time. I mean, it wasn't like, oh, I'm rookie of the year, now I'm going to go run a team. No. I mean, this has been something you've built over time, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so I'm sorry, I interrupted you there.
Yeah.
All right, we're at the place where you've gone out on your own a little bit.
Yeah, so in 2012, in October, September, started my solo career as a real estate agent with Donnie Gyro Residential. We were Real Estate One. And then what happened was, you know, the business continued to grow, so I hired an assistant, and then we took it, and I seemed to hit a ceiling of around 60 transactions in 14 and 15.
Yeah.
Hired a coach. 2016, I did 113 units as a solo agent with just an assistant, which was pretty insane. I think we were sitting somewhere around 22, 23 million, which was crazy. And then I was like, all right, I'm onto something. I gotta leverage because I am like, this is too much. I had leads coming in. I had, I was the listing agent, the buyer's agent, the marketing director. I did all things, with the exception of being the assistant, which I had. So all good. And then I started to grow the team in 2000, and I guess we're here in 16. So it's 2017, and I failed in 2017.
Really?
I regressed a little bit. Did a little bit less units. I think we finished somewhere around 95 to 94 units in 2017. And then in 18, we did about 113. I think we cranked in at about 115 last year. And then this year we're on pace to do somewhere between 190 and 200 units.
Awesome. And volume-wise, what will that be roughly?
50 million in volume. Average price point is $230,000, and that's pretty consistent on both the list and the sell side. So.
Great. So, take me back. What do you think happened when you pulled back? I mean, was it just squat to jump kind of thing? You needed to get your systems in place?
Yeah. So I think it had a lot to do with systems that had to do with processes. A lot of it had to do with agent accountability, and then I found myself, if you've heard about the J curve, I found myself in kind of the valley of the J curve. I saw a lot of the big top producers around the country that were kind of stepping out of production, and they were giving more value to the team and scaling back a little bit. And and unfortunately, I had one wrong hire at the time, and I wasn't really paying attention probably like I should have. Yeah. So again, you learn from your failures and you correct them and you move forward. Yeah. So that's what we did.
What would you say is probably, because I mean, obviously this is a great story. I mean, from a standpoint, I mean, obviously you started. I mean, literally you were the busboy, so to speak, that became.
I always say it. I was I took the path of the dishwasher who became the executive chef.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So it's kind of been my role as and hopefully there's a lot more, for us in the future,
Yeah.
which we're excited
Well, I
about.
don't think there's any doubt from a standpoint, too, there's not a single person on your team that you've not done their job. So
Correct.
there's a place where you're not operating from a place of theory, it's all experience.
100%.
Which makes a big difference. And so where do you think this is going now? What's the plans, or what do you want it to look like?
Yeah, so the plan right now was $1 million in gross commissions. That was like the big goal, the big, like, hairy, audacious
Sure. Yeah.
goal that seemed almost impossible. And if you'd asked me 5 years ago if we would do $1 million in commissions, we would do 200 units or right around 200 units, and that this thing would continue to scale, I would have told you were crazy. So I had a lot of limiting beliefs around there. And as I've been exposed to more agents, being a part of the Tom Ferry organization, being linked up with guys like Doug Edrington and Tom Toole and Jill and Treasure and some of these agents who were doing pretty big numbers across the country. I was like, you know what, I can do this.
Yeah.
So it was like the moment I was able to remove the limiting beliefs that I had and say, okay, I realize, the big thing is systems, processes, and people.
Yeah.
And so the future for us, it's obviously to, we want to continue to scale. So we want to, how big can we get the business? Of course, here we are in beautiful 30A.
Sure.
I live 5 hours from here. I've always had a dream to sell here or at least have a business here. So I could be part of the future.
Love it.
So.
Love it. So tell me this, though. I mean, looking back, kind of, you mentioned, what was it, systems? What was it?
Processes and people.
In that order, would you say, to start with?
Yes. Probably the book that's had the most profound influence on me recently. There's been several. Compound Effect probably being one of the number one.
Great.
But the 4 Disciplines of Execution was a game changer for me, and that was really this year. So I realized we were doing all of the 4 steps, but the fourth, which was the Cadence of Accountability, was the part that I was probably lacking the most on. And there were some processes and systems, especially, and you find yourself in a different place every year when you're looking at scaling or how do I go to the next level. And we realized if we were going to continue to bring on agents, we really had to tighten up our onboarding process. We had to start putting in some minimum standard requirements if you were going to be in, quote unquote, lead flow.
Right.
Because we want to give our better agents or the agents that are converting at the higher levels more opportunities, right? And instead of just everybody gets X amount of leads or opportunities and it's a free for all.
Absolutely.
We want to, take care of the people who are really, doing really well.
What do you think when you broke through on the plateau? Do you think it was the coaching? Do you think it was the accountability? What do you think was the biggest thing for you?
I think it was a little bit of everything. Again, the Tom Ferry ecosystem, which my coaching calls are amazing, but going to the conferences and what we're exposed to and having the mastermind conversations and just talking to people and just really, again, removing the limiting beliefs was big. But processes, systems, and again, people, and I don't just mean agents, I mean support staff. Best hire I have made this year, I hired a marketing director who's really a listing coordinator that has kind of evolved into something much bigger.
Yeah.
And again, when they say hire to your weaknesses, so this guy's a very high, high C, right? So engineer type, brain, where his energy, he gets energy doing all of these implementations of processes and onboarding and developing like a transaction system. No, it sucks the life out of me. Put me in a room with a bunch of people and say, all right, I need you to go meet, 15 people in the next 15 minutes. Go.
Yeah.
I'm
gotcha.
like, let's roll. You tell me, hey, I need you to build an onboarding system when you're bringing a new agent on.
Right.
I get anxiety.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Derek Reeves is my newest hire, and he's a marketing guy from LSU, just graduated about 6 months ago and came on board full time, and it's been a game changer because I say, this is my vision, right? So I'm the visionary, and then I'm just not the greatest implementer.
Right. Yeah.
So you find someone who can implement it, and then it's just bam. And I'm finding we're getting a lot of all of our growth in the team has been organic. So I haven't had to go out and necessarily recruit. It's been friends. It's been people saying and other team members that are like, hey, we want to talk to you. We see what you guys are doing, and they're like, whoa.
Yeah.
I was on a team and we didn't do any of this stuff.
Yeah.
So
Makes a
we've
huge
had a lot of
difference.
success with organic growth through our other team members.
This has been really big for us also. I mean, 4 disciplines of execution has been tremendous for us, finding that cadence of accountability. I know we do weekly calls with our groups that we do where we're basically just going through the wild important goal.
Yes.
We're doing through, our leading measure. What are we going to do this last week? What did we do? What are we going to do to get there? Same stuff I'm sure you guys are doing. How do you implement that? Do you do it with a 30-minute meeting? With a how do you do it?
So we've been doing a one-to-one, and what happens is I'm still very much in production. I'm probably account for anywhere between 40 to 45% of the total production of the team. So I'm still the listing agent. I'm still the team leader. I'm still, all of these things. So again, that's where I said I failed on the cadence of accountability because there wasn't much of a cadence.
Right.
So we went to one-to-one 30-minute meetings, and then we've been doing that. I think the agents decided they would rather do them every other week.
Yeah.
And I think they feel like they get more. I think they feel like it could be a little like too monotonous maybe sometimes when it's like the same. Now, I think the one-to-one once a week is very important.
Right.
But I gave them the decision, and that's what they chose to do.
Yeah.
So we're every other, so it would be, either the first and third or second and fourth Tuesday of the week. And then it's a 30-minute deal. What we do is I do 90-day action plans with all of my team members. And really the focus is, so their wildly important goal would be their quarter goal, 90-day action plan. And we look at their goal. So again, if you don't know what the 4 disciplines of execution, you create a wildly important goal. And we create 1 or 2. If you create more than 2, I think you'll have a very high failure rate of too many. You won't do any. You know what I mean? At least 2. If you do 1, that's pretty solid, right?
Yeah.
Key measures. So leading on key measures or key metrics. So for us, it's dials, it's contacts. It's appointments set, it's appointments held, and we know all of these lead to sales, closings, right? So we use CTE, which is our scoreboard, which is number 3, creating a compelling scoreboard. So we use CTE in there. They track their daily numbers. So calls, contacts, conversations, if you will, nurtures, appointments set, appointments held. And then we look at their team member scorecard and we see where they're at. And based on what we've been taught, 40 business-focused conversations should equal a sale. So if we go back and we look at the consistency of how many conversations are you having a month, how many sales have you had, we can find a correlation. So for some it's 40, for some it's 60, for some it's more, and it depends on your lead source. So the internet leads where you haven't met someone, those are they may take 100 conversations. We know it's a 3 to 5% conversion nationally. I think my guys are pretty talented. We track a little higher on our Zillow leads than we do our PPC leads. But inevitably, we know how many conversations. So we have that conversation. Jimmy, I see here you set a goal in this next quarter. You want to sell. Let's just say you want to do 3 a month. So 9 for this quarter. Last month you only had 30 conversations. I mean, do you think 30 conversations is enough to sell those 9
The numbers
homes?
don't lie.
And exactly. So it and we don't want to beat them up because I didn't set the goals. They set the goals. So there's the accountability, but it's also that remember, why did we pick this goal? Right. Because always back to your why. And that's what we do. So 90-day action plans, and we meet and I just make sure. Am I or is the team doing enough to support you? Do you feel like this is an achievable goal, and have we given you enough opportunities to get to these 9? They've never told me no. We have 30 active listings at all time. If not, I think we'll be probably over 30, 35 this week. So there's open house opportunities every weekend. There's Boomtown pay-per-click. There's Facebook leads. There's Zillow leads. There's sphere of influence. You know what I mean? There's sign calls. I mean, there's lots of opportunities.
Absolutely.
So as long as they tell me, we feel like there's plenty of opportunities. They take it. They take that goal and they own it.
But let's do this. Let's talk a little bit. Let's try to get a little practical for some people too. So let's talk about somebody that's a relatively newer agent or that is an agent that's hit a plateau. And if you had to boil down one lead source, I think I know what yours would be.
Yeah, so it's always going to be sphere of influence and past clients. And again, so it's all relative. So if it's someone who's from an area versus not from an area, so if they know people, hopefully they're from the area and they have everybody knows 100 people. Right? So we ask them, look, 100 people, let's start there. And then let's build this database. And we know 10% of our return on our database, right? So if we have 150,
that's right,
we should get a 10% return if we're marketing correctly.
Correct.
So that's going to be, quarterly calls. That's going to be sending them some direct mail once a month. That's going to be emails once a month. And then we're doing client appreciation parties, reverse pop buys, and, social media touches.
Who handles that for your team? Or did you do it when you were starting? Did you do it yourself?
So I did it all myself when we started. Now the goal of Derek and the marketing manager is to have a lot of that done for them, to where the only thing that they're focused on is the highest dollar producing activities, which is connecting with their sphere of influence, their past clients, their leads, and having conversations.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
Transaction coordinator handles the transactions. Marketing handles marketing.
Absolutely. So let's go back then to that time frame when you first started. Would you map out 3 months worth of that marketing? Were you doing it? Oh gosh, I got to send these out this week. How would you lay that out? So because you're going to do. Let me rephrase that again. You mentioned calls per quarter, monthly emails, monthly mailers. Correct. All right. So what would that look like? You're doing basically the same stuff.
So look, I was very naive and ignorant when I got in the business. There's a book called The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, okay? And I just was like, I don't know any better. I'm going to read this thing. There's this 33 touch in here that this guy, Gary Keller, created.
Yeah.
He says that based on all of the research he's done, you need to communicate at least 33 times or more. So I took that and I said, I'm going to rip this off and create my own.
Yeah.
So that's what I did.
Yeah. So the marketing pieces would be just listed, just sold, or
social
like that.
proof is what we do first quarter, and we're just moving to the 12 monthly mailers. It was quarterly stuff. So a monthly mailer, we would send out like a vendor list of all of the vendors, painters, title companies, mortgage lenders, electricians. I mean, any vendor that you could
value
ever
add
need.
piece.
Value add piece. Everything we do is value add
Yeah.
piece. The third one, which is probably the one we have the most success with, is our magnets, and it's a Louisiana State University and Saints, and it's a magnet that shows
Branded
the schedules, and it's got our little face at the top with our contact information. And my clients, every year when they get their new one, they throw their old one away and they put their new one up.
Yeah.
Fourth quarter, we typically do a new, like a Christmas card, if you will, of the team.
Yeah.
So again, it's like we want to get a little personal. Hey, here's the team, here's us, and then what we'll do is next year. So this year we want to do, when we kind of ripped this off from Tom, would be like every quarter. So it would be a social proof, then maybe it's a market report, then maybe it's a hey, here's what's going on in Baton Rouge for the next.
The Tom tool.
Yeah, the Tom, exactly. Something very similar to that. So we want to make sure, again, we want to be in front of them all the time.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and so let's talk a little bit maybe too, that person that maybe is at a, whatever it is for them, they're at a plateau. I know it was coaching for you. What do you think, if you were sitting there and you had to boil this down, is coach? I mean, obviously coaching is going to be high up on that list. Where do you think? I know you're with Tom Ferry. You've been with other coaches before.
Yeah.
That accountability, just that community. What do you think is the value there?
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm not pitching Tom Ferry. I was with Buffini & Company. I was with a company called National Association of Expert Advisors. I found a home at Tom Ferry. It just felt right for me. You don't have to get a coach, but find an accountability partner.
Yeah.
Find someone who is going to make sure that you're showing up at the office, you're making your dials. We say 554, 5 people from your sphere of influence, past clients, 5 new people, meaning some leads maybe you've never talked to before, got them on the phone, and then 4 follow-ups.
Yeah.
People you've talked to in the past about real estate, you're just checking in.
I know. See, that was the thing too. I think a lot of times we get so worried about spending the money up front. I mean, but if somebody's getting started or they're at a point, I mean, somebody joining your team is going to get the coaching, the accountability, those types of things. You know what I mean? If somebody joins our company, they're going to get it. Now, is there a next level? Is there more personalized and where you spend and you get more? Absolutely. But I think somebody thinks they've got to dive in immediately and do all of it. There's no doubt that's going to help. It's going to speed up the process. But find a place where you're getting that. I know you're providing it for your team. Everybody I talk to that is running a team correctly or is running a company correctly is doing that in some way, shape, or form. So I think sometimes we get past that. Let me mention also.
Yeah, I'll say this too while you're on that topic. A lot of people get caught up in the splits and the money. And when we're talking about this, it's very expensive to run a team. I mean, like when I say expensive, tens of thousands of dollars a month, it would make most people throw up when you talk about those numbers. Number one, you can learn on someone else's dollar, right? Learn the systems and processes. My biggest value add for my people is they ask me, so why would I come work with you? I will teach you how to build a real estate business.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Okay, that's
exactly right.
That's what I'm going to teach you. The other part of that is is the what we call the ECI, the ego commission income. And everybody wants to talk about that GCI and not the net, which is really the only thing I want to talk about is this number down there, net profit. They think that it's like if it's a 50-50 split, but if you go to a brokerage and a brokerage is taking 30%, so what is it just to keep an additional 20% when you don't have any expenses at all?
Exactly right.
You're going to make more money.
Yeah.
You're going to have a better quality of life. You're going to have more support. And you're going to have a lot more value. So I think the people get really caught up in the commission splits, and they can't look past the value.
No, I completely agree. I mean, I think sometimes we get focused on the wrong things.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And the other thing is if you're growing, and you're doing it, and you're adding value out there, more value is going to come back to you.
100%.
It's a matter of time. So
reciprocation.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about that person that is at there, and maybe they're thinking about, well, what would be if you only could use other than Sphere? Because I know you do a ton of different things. What's working best for you right now?
Yeah, so Sphere's always been number one. The second thing that's working really well for us is, believe it or not, Zillow is I have a 700% return on my investment right now, year to date. And then our Boomtown PPC stuff, I'm sitting at like a 1,400, but it's a little different because those cost per lead is $4 versus say $40 on a Zillow lead. So it's all relative, right? Yeah. But I would say to have some diversification in your lead sources, right? So the cool thing about internet lead generation is it's probably the least expensive to get in. Yeah. And if you're willing to make the calls, do the follow-up, it can be an extremely lucrative lead source. Yeah, absolutely. Geographic farming is an expensive lead source, and it's going to take you a good 6 to 8 months, maybe even 12 months to get a real return on your investment. Right. For sale owners and expired listings, I think are a great place to start for an agent because it's pretty inexpensive and it's a lower hanging fruit, if you will. Sure. They've identified, hey, we want to sell our home. Right. We just haven't found the right real estate agent at this point. Yeah. So if I'm a new agent, I'm always going sphere of influence first. Right. People that know me, they like me, they trust me. Because of the cost of, say, an internet lead, I think there's some lower cost online lead sources that you can jump into. I mean, you can start running Facebook ads and generate leads for $1 if you wanted to, right? You got to be pretty relentless and pretty aggressive on how you follow up with them. And then I think the for sale owner and expireds are again low hanging fruit. You could get a system like Vulcan 7, spend a couple $100 a month, get the data, but the scripting and the role playing, the skills, which all of these take. Yeah. Sphere of influence takes the least amount of skill, and then from there, they in that order. Right. Online leads, and then you need to really be skilled with for sale owners and expireds.
So what's your week look like? Let's talk about that. I mean, we talked about the accountability. Let's go through kind of what a typical week looks like, training, coaching, everything.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm the biggest creature of habit on the planet. So I wake up at 5 a.m. I have a little morning routine that I follow a lot. Lately, it's been a lot of reading, and I just try to get my brain really, working early in the morning. I shower at 6. It's 5:45. I'm ready to go at 6. I eat the same thing for breakfast every day, which is usually 1 cup of egg whites, typically 1 whole egg, and usually like a complex carb, whether it's like a quick oats or grits or something. And I do like a 25 grams, like a whey isolate shake with that and all my vitamins. Yeah. Same thing every day. Seriously, it's crazy.
It's really not working out for you, by the way.
It's not working out at all. Not working out at all. I take my children to school every single day. Both my girls, we leave the house at 7. I drop them off. I go to CC's Coffee. I get the same coffee every single day from the drive-thru. Yeah. I'm at my office between 7:45 and 8 o'clock every day. I typically meet with my admin staff because they share an office with me, so we'll chat, prep the day. We do Monday morning meeting with the team at 8:30, and that usually lasts till about 9:15. Prospecting or wealth, I call it wealth creation because that's what it is for me. And that happens between 9 and 11 every day. Yeah. After 9 or after 11, and I eat lunch and I order. I have a company who preps my food for me, so I eat at my desk most days. Absolutely. And in the afternoons, I should be on appointments. So listing appointments, meeting with the team, one-to-ones. I leave, and I try to leave every day at 4 unless I have an appointment. I go to the gym at 4 o'clock. And I work out till about 5:30. Puts me getting home at a decent time. We spend the afternoons and the evenings with my children. We do dinner. read stories before bed, put them to bed, and 9:30, is man, I'm shutting it down.
Every day. It's almost the same thing, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing. You kind of you gotta fall in love with the grind and the monotonous boredom of what it takes to be disciplined. And I don't live the most glamorous life, and I love opportunities like this when I can go and take trips and network and meet with people. But my days are typically, they look pretty much the same.
But that's the thing is I think typically boring is what builds. Boring builds.
Yeah,
when you get into a routine like that works for you, it's definitely going to work. So and basically, so you're doing, you kind of have a huddle with your team in the mornings?
Yeah, they're all there. We don't necessarily huddle because on Mondays we meet, on Tuesdays I coach, on Wednesday mornings I coach. So I have just 2 morning coaching days. So I'm a coach for Tom Ferry as well.
Right.
So I do those, and then on Thursdays they do scripting and role playing. Tuesdays and Thursdays, 8:30 to 9, and then on Friday's kind of a day where people kind of show up when they want to show up, because 9 times out of 10 they're typically working an open house. They're working that weekend, so I want them to have some flexibility in their schedule. So if it's Friday, it's Friday.
Yeah. What about as far as that goes, going back? Because obviously it wasn't always this way.
No.
When you first started, it was just putting out fires and just chasing yourself, and that's probably what, once the systems got in place, you started seeing the growth.
You just learn to focus on the highest dollar productive activities, and then if it's not, a deal's not going to blow up between 9 and 11, and if it does, then there's nothing I can do about it.
Right.
Anyways, right.
Yeah.
So
true.
it's getting out of your head that these things have to be done right then, and it's focusing on the highest dollar producing activities. What's going to get me to my quarterly goals, and then it just compounds. So my first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, if I'm on track, I'm going to hit my goal at the end of the year.
Right. Yeah.
So we just, instead of taking this big one goal and you got to break it down into smaller goals, and then even like weekly goals, and then even daily goals, and then once you do that, and if you can stay on track to that, this number here doesn't seem so.
Takes care of it.
Yeah, 200 transactions at the beginning of the year felt pretty overwhelming to me.
You know what I mean? I'm sure. Yeah.
And then now I'm staring at it. We're over 165 pending and closed for the year, which October is going to be one of our best months of the year, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And they're really, my guys are like, we want to get to that 200.
Yeah,
so they're
great.
fired up.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
So that's what it comes down to. It's consistency, right? It's doing the little bitty unsexy things over and over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And then there's got to be that level of accountability in between there as well.
Yeah.
And then not focusing on the low dollar producing activities, and just focusing on the stuff that's going to get you to the finish line.
So tell me what you're excited about right now. What are you excited about? Numbers not, I'm talking about in the business, where do you see some opportunity?
I'm really, really, really excited about the landscape and where the business is going.
Yeah.
Okay, so I see a big purge coming into our business. I feel like with all the disruption, the iBuyers, all this venture capitalist money and all this tech money that's being raised to inevitably disrupt our business, Tom's talking about right now, we call it economic Darwinism, where it's not, it's only the strong will survive, and it's adapt or die.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you're not adapting to the changes that are taking place in our industry right now, and you're not aware and you're not recognizing them, you will become irrelevant.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so let's kind of wrap this up. One thing I did want to kind of go back. If you could go back and talk to yourself, when you were first starting, or maybe there's this agent out there that's a little frustrated, or maybe can't see it yet. What would you say to yourself back then and those agents now?
Yeah, and it's funny because I'm sure a lot of people would say they do things differently. There's not a whole lot I would change.
That's great.
And the reason is because I did the grind work that took to get here. Now, I would have hired an assistant sooner, and I would have had faith, and I coach people, and their biggest reservation is, can I afford this person? And I tell them all the time, trust me.
Yeah.
Not only can you afford them, you will soon find yourself, why didn't I do this a lot sooner?
Right.
So I wish, and I'm not saying just any assistant. I mean the right assistant. Right.
Yeah.
Do the disc profile, make sure they meet the criteria of what would be considered, the personality of a really good assistant.
Right.
That's the probably biggest mistake, and then really leveraging sooner. So aside from that, my systems and processes were pretty good, They weren't great, but you know, I had the boomtown in place. I knew how to generate opportunities, hiring agents, and really, you know, training them and the accountability piece. Because I made a hire of someone who I thought was going to be an amazing fit. Turns out we didn't disc him. We disced him later on. It was too late. Found out his personality was exactly. He wasn't going to get on the phone.
Right.
You know, he had that. He was going to go and do a lot of research to find out who it was he was calling first and make up all these, you know, reasons why he wasn't going to call him. And I wasn't holding them accountable. And I was doing a poor job as their team leader and their coach to help them. And they usually fade out, and he faded out. And I take responsibility because I was not a good coach and a good team leader at the time. But I learned a lot. So the failures that I made are inevitably what have given me the experience to become the team leader and the agent that I am today. So where everybody else is like, oh, I would change things. I mean, I don't really think I would change a lot.
And I think sometimes you get so focused on the things where it was actually the failures that give you the ability to hit 200 this year. You know, 300 transactions this year to do 50 million. I mean, if you hadn't had those things, you would not have known that you needed to do something different.
Right.
You know?
And you listen to Tom and Andy Dalton. Is it Andy Dalton?
I think so. Yeah.
He's the president of Real Living and the vice president of HSF.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Alan Dalton.
Alan Dalton.
Yeah. Alan. Yeah.
Amazing interview, and Tom and that was probably some of the best content I've gotten in a while of any podcast I listened to. But they were talking about where the business is going, and you know, I'm sure you remember when 100 deals was like the threshold of like a mega agent.
Yeah, I remember it.
You know, Now Tom's saying it's 100 agents on a team. So he says he believes 5,000 to 7,000 teams will have 100 plus agents on a team in the next 3 to 5 years, and that gets me excited.
Yeah.
So if they can do it, why can't I do it?
Absolutely. I think that's with everything, right?
That's pretty much the mindset that I have these days is let somebody else go and do it, and then it changes the limiting beliefs that you may have. Like if they can, it's kind of like they always talk about the 4-minute mile.
Right.
And that's when like people were, nobody can break the 4-minute mile. And then after that, it was like once one person did it, it was like everybody did it.
Yeah, I know.
So it's just removing those limiting beliefs.
Yeah, and we're in a place where it's pretty exciting too, because I mean I think we've never had the ability to hear those stories like before. I mean, really, it's out there. You know, this is a perfect example, and I'm super pumped. Get to spend a couple days with you, with Doug, with just spend some time talking about what's out there, talking about what's potentially there, because every time that I'm excited. You know what? I've said this before. I'm excited to be the dumbest guy in the room. You know what I mean?
Sure.
We got some
I feel
guys,
like I'm always
I
always want to be the dumbest guy in the room.
I know.
Right?
Yeah. So I think this is a perfect example of we're going to spend a couple days together, really catch up on everything, see where the business is, see where we see the opportunities. Maybe have an opportunity to share some things with each other that maybe we hadn't thought about.
Sure.
So I think that's critically important. Brother, I appreciate it.
Dude,
this has been great. Yeah, this has been great. And awesome. Listen, how can people find you? What's the best way to get in touch with you? So if they want to, if they got somebody to send to Baton Rouge.
Yeah. So Trey Willard, again, Baton Rouge, Facebook, Instagram. I'm on every social profile there is. 225propertysearch.com. Again, Tom Ferry, business coach. I mean, if you have questions, I'm all about.
I know you are.
Like coaching and giving back to an industry that has been extremely rewarding to me. If you have any questions or if they want 15, 20 minutes of my time, just tell them to reach out. I'd love to connect with them.
Good stuff. All right, guys, we'll catch y'all next time.